Hello, my name is Lewis and welcome to Gathering the Magic. Today we're looking at a $50 budget Beamtown Bullies deck tech. From SNC Commander set, this Ogre Devil Warrior has Haste Vigilance and you can tap to have target opponent whose turn it is put target non-legendary creature card from your graveyard onto the field under their control. It gains haste, is goaded, and at the beginning of the next end step is exiled. This deck is all about self-milling ourselves to the max, overflowing our graveyard with all of those nasty creatures and let our opponents take out each other and themselves so we get the nice easy victory royale. Now, let's get right into the bullying.
Bully! Bully! Yes, bully!
As always, we're starting off this budget brew hot with all of that ramp. First on up we have Cultivate and Kodama's Reach to both search our library for 2 basic lands, putting one onto the field tapped and one into our hand. There's Farseek that lets us search our library for a mountain or swamp, putting it onto the field tapped, and Rampant Growth to again search our library for a basic land, putting it onto the battlefield tapped. There's Black Staple Dark Ritual to add 3 swamp to our mana pool, and Seething Song to add 5 mountain to our mana pool. Taking that trip to Signet City, we've got Golgari and Gruul to both pay 1 tap and add those Golgari or Gruul colours. We've also got Rakdos Signet to again pay 1 tap and add red black, and Commander Sphere to tap and add 1 mana of any of those Jund colours, with that secondary sack card draw outlet. We do also have a few more rampy options, but we'll get to them later in the video. And finally, we have Sol Ring, because Sol Ring. Before we get onto those horrible creatures, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel for all things MTG. Subscribing is completely free to do, and it helps our channel grow and grow. You can also help support us by becoming a prickly pal today with our brand new channel membership. So now we'll be looking at all of those horrible creatures we'll be giving to our opponents with the Beamtown Bullies ability. First up is Inverter of Truth. This Flying Eldrazi, when ETBs, exiles all cards from your library face down, then shuffles all cards from your graveyard into your library. And Leveler, that when ETBs, you remove your library from the game. There's Eater of Days, a huge flying 9/8 with trample, but when it ETBs, you skip your next 2 turns. And Ebon Blade Reaper, that when attacks, you lose half your life rounded up. When it deals combat damage to a player, that player loses half their life rounded up. So just make sure it can't attack you. We've got Jagged Poppet, that when it's dealt damage, you discard that many cards. And Ox of Agonis, that when ETBs, you discard your hand and draw 3 cards. Remember, these dastardly creatures are ones that we'll be giving to our opponents, thanks to the Bully Boys.
Bully!
So we can sit back and relax whilst they lose turns, life, and even their cards. There's Lesser Gargadon, that when attacks or blocks, sack a land, and Phyrexian Warbeast, that when leaves play, sack a land and it deals 1 damage to you. We've got Enslaved Horror, that when ETBs, each other player can return a creature card from their graveyard to the field, and Hunted Wumpus, that similarly, when ETBs, each other creature may put a card from their hand onto the field. Great cards that will not only get you a creature out, but also your opponents, so maybe you'll get some future favours for helping them out. There's Boldware Heavyweights, that when ETBs, each opponent can again search their library for a creature card, putting it onto the field. And Ugin's Construct, that when ETBs, player has to sack a permanent that was 1 or more colours. Finally, there's Plague Reaver, that says at the beginning of your end step, sacrifice each other creature you control. If any of these creatures do sound like you wouldn't want to face them yourself, remember, they will be goaded so they cannot attack you. That is some spicy stuff. So we've looked at those deadly creatures to fetch from the graveyard, now let's look at ways to get them into the graveyard. First up is Auric Lawmage, that we can tap to search our library for a card, putting it into a graveyard. And Vile Entomber with Death Touch, that when ETBs you can search your library for a card, putting it into the graveyard. We've got Unmarked Grave to search your library for a non-legendary card, putting that into the graveyard. And Old Stick Fingers, that says when you cast it, reveal cards off the top of your library until you reveal X creature cards, putting all creatures revealed this way into your graveyard and the rest on the bottom of your library. With Old Stick Fingers power and toughness equal to the number of creatures in your graveyard. There's Skull Prophet to tap and mill 2, or have as another mana option, and Stinkweed Imp with that Dredge 5 that can mill you for 5 whenever you draw a card. We've added World Shaper in to mill 3 whenever it attacks, with also getting lands from your graveyard to the field tapped when it dies. And Mulch to mill 4, putting any revealed lands into your hand. There's Grapple with the Past to mill 3, with the option to return a creature or land from your graveyard to your hand, and Grizzly Salvage to mill 5, putting either a creature or land from the revealed 5 cards into your hand. We need the many ways to get these creatures into our graveyard, so we can start using old Bully's ability as soon as it hits the field. It is a pretty cheap to cast commander too, so this could be popping off extra early. Milling isn't the only way we're getting those cards into our graveyard, it's time to go on a looting spree. First up is Faithless Looting to draw 2 cards, discard 2 cards, and has that tasty flashback option, and Wild Guess to discard a card and draw 2 cards. We've got Electric Revelation and Thrill of Possibility to both discard a card and draw 2 cards, again with Electric Revelation having that flashback option. There's Tormenting Voice to again discard a card and draw 2, and Key to the City that we can tap to discard a card, giving target creature unblockable until end of turn. When Key to the City becomes tapped, we can pay 2 to draw a card. There's classic Red Cathartic Reunion to discard 2 cards and draw 3, and Unexpected Windfall to discard a card, draw 2 cards and create a treasure token. Having all of these looting cards are so essential because not only are we drawing cards, which Commander loves, but also the extra chance to discard those nasty creatures straight into our graveyard. Finally, there's 2 mana options in Network Terminal that we can also pay and tap to draw a card and discard a card, and the Celestus that says when you change between night or day, gain life and draw a card. If you do, discard a card. You love to see it. Before finishing up with those lands, we're looking at the best of the rest in this budget brew. First up we have Abnormal Endurance and Demonic Gift that both say until end of turn, target creature gets +2/+0 and gains when this creature dies, return it to the field under your control. There's Fake Your Own Death, the same as the previous 2, but the creature returns tapped and you gain a treasure token. And Feign Death that says when target creature dies, returns to the field tapped with a +1/+1 counter on it. With the pure chaos that the Beamtown Bullies can cause, having these quick-fire ways to protect it are key, to get it straight back onto the field and avoid the dreaded command attacks. For the final protection we have Malakir Rebirth to choose target creature, lose 2 life, and again return it to the battlefield tapped when it dies. It does also have the DFC Swamp option too. Moving on to removal, there's Barrier Breach to exile up to 3 target enchantments. We have Feed the Swarm to destroy target creature or enchantment, losing life equal to destroy card's mana value. And Infernal Grasp to destroy target creature, losing 2 life. We have Putrefy to destroy target artifact or creature, and Terminate to destroy target creature. They can't be regenerated. We've added Primeval Protector, a 10/10 that costs 1 less for each creature our opponents control, putting +1/+1 counters on each other creature we control. And Titanoth Rex, an 11/11 with Trample that can also be cycled. These are 2 very replaceable cards in this deck, but we thought with most of our creatures going to our opponents, having 2 potential endgame big damaging creatures couldn't hurt. Finally, we have Budget Breaker Seedborn Muse to untap all permanents you control during each player's untap step. And Meme Master Steve's favourite card, Jandor's Saddlebags, to pay 3 tap to untap target creature. Having these 2 are huge, especially Seedborn have 4 times per table rotation to tap the bullies and ruin our opponent's boards with our graveyard creatures. As always, we're finishing off this budget brew with all of those tasty, tasty lands. First on up we have 9 Mountain, 10 Forest and 12 Swamp, as this deck does lean slightly heavier into those swampies. We have the classic 4 in Command Tower to add any of those Jund colours, and Exotic Orchard to tap for a land of any colour an opponent controls could produce. And we're rounding it off with Evolving Wilds and Terramorphic Expanse to both sack and search our library for a basic land card, putting it onto the field tapped. To keep this deck within that $50 budget, we've gone with the absolute basic lands here, but if you are looking to up the budget, then as you can see on the screen now, there are of course plenty of options to go for. The Beamtown Bullies is an incredible new card from the SNC Precon, and one that I think will be very fun to pilot at the Commander table. Might not be so fun to play against though. There we have it, that is the $50 budget deck tech. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel for all things MTG. Check out our link tree in the description below for all of our social media and affiliate links. For now though, I'm all tapped out, so I'll see you in the next video.